What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
This is our spoiler chat for the first episode of Halo. We'll do some non-spoiler thoughts first before the spoilers. So if you want to just know what we think of the show, stick around through the theme song, because we get nerdy nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
That is right. Non-spoiler. If you do not currently have Paramount Plus and you're wondering if this is worth picking it up for, it's not.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's episode 1.
Yeah, I know. I would wait.
Okay.
If this is where it starts and you're like, do I want to spend more money? I'm a huge Halo fan. I want to start by saying I'm a huge Halo fan.
Mm-hmm.
I would wait to see what people think of upcoming episodes.
Fair enough. I mean, it's $6, so...
Fair.
I'm like, it's not that much. I thought the first episode was kind of fun, even though it's completely nonsensical.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
The first half is fun. The second half just kind of is like, what? I've rarely sat through a pilot episode of a show and been so confused.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about spoilers. That's what the spoiler chat is for. Welcome in. We should say I have played every single Halo game. I haven't beaten Infinite, but I have beaten every single other Halo game, and I have read not all of the books because there's a lot of them, but I read the original 6 novels that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Halo fan. I love the character. I have played hundreds and hundreds of hours of multiplayer online. I love the lore of the Halo universe up until Halo 4, and then the lore I don't really care about as much. You have played 1 hour of Halo Infinite, and that's it.
I have played 1 hour of Halo Infinite, and when I was a tween, I played a couple hours of Infected with the sword, and it's basically tag with your friends, but Halo.
Wow!
Yeah.
That was an unexpected pull.
That's
all
I remember from it.
You know what I love about being married to you? I'm still learning new things about you.
Oh.
You are infinitely deep in terms of your depth.
You know what? I appreciate that. Thank you. It's much appreciated.
I'm proud of myself for that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, well done.
So Halo is a show about Master Chief, which my favorite thing about this was when you went, oh, he has Master and Chief, so many titles.
I was like, does he really need to be respected twice in a...
And I was like, no, Master Chief is like a real military rank that exists.
I have never heard of Master Chief outside of Halo.
And Star Wars. That episode of Clone Wars, he was the Master Chief.
If you say so, but I did not catch on to that.
I've seen the episode. And then we made a podcast about it.
Seen it. Yes.
Jawa Chatter is our Star Wars podcast. Comes out every Thursday. We do that with Just Jeffers Games and Claudia. Mm-hmm. No, but seriously, this episode is the pilot of the new Paramount Plus Halo show, the long-awaited live-action Halo series adaptation. Mm-hmm. This is not the main Halo timeline. This is what they're calling the Silver Timeline, and so this does branch off from Halo and is able to go on in its own direction by not being stuck with the plotting and the honestly the baggage of the weight of the lore of the original Halo universe.
Yeah, it seems to me that Halo has such an incredible has such incredible depth and has been around for so long that there would be too much to tackle in a TV show, that it makes it a lot easier if they can just do a little bit of their own thing.
Well, and to be honest, the plotting of the video games is very MacGuffin heavy. Like, it is about going to get a thing, to do a thing, to fix a thing, to get a thing, to do a thing, to fix a thing, to do a thing.
I mean, this was very much there's a thing.
Sure, but in terms of a television show not being totally devoted to the plot of the video game is fine to me. I don't have a problem with that.
Fair enough.
Think what's interesting about this from someone who has read the books, especially the books, more so than the games, I think, is the time period at which this takes place is so much earlier than I expected. Mm-hmm. We are seeing a much younger Master Chief, pre kind of the real kickoff of the Covenant human war, when it is still skirmishes and when both sides are trying to figure each other out. There is a line in this episode about how they've been fighting for years, but it can't have been that much of the combat that you read about in the books.
Yeah, well, because the other side of the Civil War thinks that it's just propaganda, that they're trying to scare them into thinking there is another enemy.
Yeah, and in the books, the Covenant they literally are destroying planets. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't seem like that has started to happen. When the first Halo game starts, humanity's sort of at a very desperate place in terms of the war. Whereas in this show, the vibe I got was that humanity is very much still in a like opening stages, sussing out the enemy kind of stage of the war.
With each other?
No, with the Covenant.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they kind of know about each other and they're fighting each other, but in the show it doesn't seem like humanity's like on its last legs the way that it does in the games.
Right. Okay, I see. Yeah, I mean it kind of feels like within each other, like they're not in a good place.
Yeah, we're not introduced to the UNSC first though. We are introduced to them, but through the planet Madrigal, which is a resistance rebellion homeworld that is fighting against the UNSC before the Covenant human wars that take up the majority of the Halo games. There was a big civil war going on within humanity, and it's interesting that they brought that into the show because it really complicates our main characters because they're on this one side of this civil war. And we meet this town of hydrogen miners, and they are, you know, actively just talking about how much they hate the UNSC, and then they get attacked by the Covenant, who have been mining like 5 minutes outside of their town.
Yeah.
So the Covenant find these kids doing drugs,
Yeah.
kill them violently,
Yep.
and then come kill the entire town very violently.
Yes.
And Master Chief shows up. Him and his Silver team take out all of the Covenant. They go back and they go to find the Phantom, where the Covenant are from, and they find this cave system that has been dug by the Covenant that is like 5 minutes away from this hydrogen mine.
Yeah, they're like very close to the camp or whatever. I guess they don't ever like scout.
And they've never heard of these aliens.
No.
And so like but the aliens are like next door?
Yeah, like how long have they been there? Here's the thing. I don't know about those, like, I don't know about how fast plasma works. Maybe they were able to mine that cave in a matter of hours. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible. It seems...
But...
it's a tough start for the show, because essentially you get this, like, opening action sequence that is honestly pretty well done.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest thing you'll ever watch, but, like, the CGI is, for the most part, good. The combat itself can feel a little clunky sometimes. The Spartans especially feel a little bit hampered by their suits.
Yeah, the suits seem like they're really difficult to move in. Like, sometimes it looks more like a video game, the way that they move.
But it's weird because, like, it's clearly done practically.
Yeah. It's just, it is a little bit jarring.
But exciting. I genuinely enjoyed the opening fight sequence. When Chief finally picks up the Gatling gun from the back of the Warthog. Like, there's stuff in the opening action sequences that is actually really fun. Mm-hmm. There is some, like, the Gatling gun does a much more damage to elites when Chief is holding it than when the one soldier's using it on the back of the truck. But in all of this, we are introduced to this girl, Quan, who is a teenager.
Yep.
And she is insurgent. She is the only survivor at the end of this big battle where the 4 Spartans, we get Silver Team kind of kicking ass. It's fun. They take out only elites. There are only elites in this dispatch. You would expect maybe a grunt, maybe something else. Nope, it is just 20 elites.
Yeah.
And we see her kind of like get taken along with the Spartans from this planet. And then the show just falls apart for me, kind of like right away. Because nothing after this point makes any sense.
No. Like, they're by them. It's just the 2 of them in this ship for some reason.
But, Silver Team somehow gets all the way ahead of them and is on Reach already.
Yeah.
Why did Silver Team go ahead of them?
I don't know.
Why are they on the Condor by themselves?
No idea. Yeah, so she wakes up. Anyways, Quan wakes up. She's, traumatized. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that happens to her is some, like, doctor shows up in this hologram and it's like, hey,
Miranda Keys,
do you want to, like, tell everybody what happened and, do us a solid, even though you're probably real fucked up right now? And, like, I was like, this is the worst, like, you were doing the worst job at convincing this person possible. And then you find out later she's a doctor. She's not meant to be good at it. But I'm like, why? If this is, like, important, if this actually matters, why let her do it and not somebody else who's actually qualified?
I do love that you've completely given up trying not to say the F word in our videos.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No, but you're right. I mean, Olive Gray, this isn't like a knock on her performance, because in the scenes after this one, I think she's actually really good.
Yeah.
She's just really bad in this scene. And it's the writing of Miranda Keyes. Like, she is so incompetent in this conversation with Quan.
I think it was the direction of it. You're trying to do this, but you're not good at it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I got that.
I know, but you would think the UNSC would have like the best of the best.
That's what I mean.
And she's so inept in her conversation that it's so odd.
It makes no sense story-wise. Like, I guess they don't care about this woman's life. Either she speaks for them or she dies. I guess it makes no difference to them.
But here's the thing. Quan, they're like, okay, well, let's just kill her.
Yeah.
She's literally a teenage girl. Like, this is a teenager.
Yeah,
who they could just
don't care.
Put on a planet somewhere. Like, you know. But then Quan is talking to Master Chief and she's like, oh yeah, you killed my mom. And he's like, yeah, orders. And you're like, wow, this is a fun way to...
Yeah, he's like, sometimes the people up there know more than I do down here. And she's like, maybe it's the other way around.
It's a really rough introduction to the main character of a show.
It really is. And here's what just does.
And it's true. I'm not saying that's not true, but it's just like...
No. What doesn't work is that all we see of Master Chief, he shows up, does his job, and then suddenly he has a conversation with this girl and is like, maybe the world is not as I thought it was.
Well, and he touches the Forerunner artifact and he remembers his childhood. And so because he has memories now...
He has some kind of sense of self, I guess. But it is just weird that... Because at this point, he has been Master Chief for years because... the Covenant knows him as Demon.
Yeah.
Like, he has been doing this for years.
Which is a cool... One thing I will call out in terms of, like, the quality of the show is they are doing a very good job of representing the physical look of the games.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the armor and stuff looks really good. And the little things like the demon call out, when the plant is being attacked and they're like, oh, close the tubes. Like, I'm glad they took the time to be like, these characters have this worry that this hydrogen's going to explode. Yeah. That has to be important to them. Yeah. And so, like, there are little bits of world building in this show that I think are actually done really well.
Yeah. There's definitely stuff that... the people who made this seem like they really like Halo, but the storytelling aspects are just not strong because all of a sudden, after like a conversation with this girl, Master Chief is like, you know what? You're right, and just throws everything he knows out the window.
Yeah, and so the team on Reach starts to like pull the oxygen out of his plane, or his ship, because he is not killing this teenager.
Well, I think they did that. They did that, I think, because he took out the cameras.
Oh, yeah. He turns the cameras off so that he doesn't have to kill the little girl. But then the next... What follows is just nonsense. Like, his ship gets so close to Reach. Halsey activates Silver Team, which is the team that he was with on Madrigal.
Yeah, I don't know how they got there. And she's like,
the Marines are going to try and kill him, but I want you to fight the entire Marine Corps. It's just that the ship gets way too close.
Yeah.
And doesn't have a plan. He gets control of the ship. They just shoot it out of the sky. Like, nothing that any character does in the second half of the show makes any sense. They're trying to make the UNSC leadership look like villains, but they're also inept. But also John 117 is like complicated and like willing to do anything for the cause, but also the next breath is going out of his way for this girl
to save this one
because he saw a dog and a woman in a memory. Like and I just can't get over the fact that Silver Team's already there.
Yeah.
Like, it bugs me so much. And so the second half of this episode, you're just kind of sitting, or maybe not everyone, but I was sitting there going, I love Halo. Like, I love Halo. Halo 2 is one of the great video games of all time. I love the books. I read them and like devoured them when they came out. And this was nonsense.
Yeah.
And like actually nonsense. Like, I watch things with a pretty critical eye.
Yeah.
And I can generally make things make sense. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, if there is a missing plot point in a show that they need me to fill in, I can usually be like, well, it wasn't handled the best, but what they were going for was this, and I can figure it out.
Yeah.
I legitimately cannot figure out what the plot of the second half of this episode was.
Yeah, like, what was Master Chief thinking?
And now we're at a point where Master Chief and Quan Ho are going to take off into space, and it's going to be Master
Where are they
Chief
gonna go?
and this. I have no problem with like Quan Ho as a character, except that she's a literal teenager, and I don't want to see this teenager following Master Chief. Like, that's not a show that interests me.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I
what
just
is
wish she was an
he-
adult.
Yeah, what is he supposed to do with her? Like,
I just wish she was like 19. I would feel it's the same problem I had with Ahsoka when she was first introduced, right? Where I was like, I don't like that Anakin is taking Ahsoka into these battlefields. She's a literal child.
yeah.
I wish they just made her 18.
Ahsoka is more capable of handling herself than, like, Quan is. Like,
For sure.
She like has trouble even like holding the gun.
Yeah, and thankfully, Yaren Ha, who plays Quan Ho, is one of the better actresses on the show, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
She
yeah.
has the most range, but I really struggled with what her purpose is going to be moving forward.
Yeah. Like,
Because-
why the character...
It seems like she's going to replace Cortana in terms of who John talks to, and that's weird because it means that our main character isn't going to be able to talk about things because they're classified, and then like the main relationship on the show isn't going to be John Cortana, it's going to be John Quan, and I don't care about this teenage girl. I just don't.
Didn't we see Cortana in the trailers?
Yeah, she's going to be in the show, but like, when is John going to meet her? How is Halsey going to get Cortana to John now? Right? Like, and it's he's now AWOL, so like the show is going to be like
he
Mission
took off.
Impossible, John 117 against the UNSC.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, we get introduced to the the Covenant human child woman who has one scene in the show that should not have been in the pilot. They should have saved that for another episode because that meant nothing to this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but I was like, I don't...
Although I will say, the CGI for Mercy, the Prophet, looks incredible. I thought his visual design and the way... when he talked, dude, I was like, that is... Well, he was the best CGI in the whole episode.
Yeah, he looks great.
Mercy looked phenomenal. I don't know how they pulled that off because his little testicles, man, they dangled. But they dangled like realistically. It was very cool. Mm-hmm. I was really... honestly, I liked the scene. I just was like, you could have introduced this in episode 2 and made an episode about this instead of it just having to be a one-off scene in this episode that doesn't really...
It was a weird thing to throw in the pilot, yeah, because it didn't have anything to do with anything.
But then again, the second half of the episode had like almost nothing to do with anything. It was just things happening.
Yeah.
And characters being places that you're like, how? Why?
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense.
I'm hopeful this show will be cool. I'm hopeful that like the direction it goes from here is really interesting and that we get this like cool Halo story with John and Cortana eventually getting to like do Halo things.
Yeah.
But I'm worried that there's going to be like multiple episodes of like John and Quan just like running to Forerunner installations together, and he's got this girl with him who's an actual child. Like, don't call her a juvenile, just make her an adult.
Yeah.
Otherwise it feels weird that she's like stuck on this journey.
Yeah. I'm not...
Yeah.
It's
Tough.
It was fun. You know, like I said, the episode, like, it was fun, and as someone who doesn't really know anything about this universe, there was a lot in there to like pique my interest in terms of like lore. But as far as the actual plot of this episode and what I think it is going to be moving forward, I'm like, okay.
My concern is that pilots typically in first seasons are where the majority of attention is given to a show. And if this is the amount of attention they gave to the plot of the pilot, where does it go from here?
But there's also a lot of like not great pilots that then have good shows.
100%. Here's the thing. I'm going to watch it. We've paid for the service. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
But it's why at the beginning of this, I said, go in, wait. If you don't already have Paramount Plus,
Yeah.
I am not sure yet that this show is worth paying for.
Yeah.
I would wait until a few more episodes are out and we see what the quality of the storytelling is going to be, because the quality of the storytelling of this episode was not great. Some of the acting wasn't great. The CGI, for the most part, pretty solid. I liked a lot of the look of the show. I think the filming was good. I think the director of this episode has a weird thing for zoom in shots on people talking that got like, there's one, the first beat of this is this like conversation around a table playing cards, and there is a lot of zoom ins back to back to back in a way that I was like, this is a weird.
Yeah.
It's not as much in the rest of the episode, but
no, it is mostly in the beginning, which was interesting. But yeah,
there's a lot of like very quick like zoom ins on covers, and it's like zoom, zoom.
Yeah.
The Spartans look, for the most part, look awesome.
Yeah, the way that they move sometimes, very strange.
But I don't know if that's the suit or if it is them trying to act around CGI. Like, I don't...
No, I think it is, because the one that stood out to me was, like, that big, like, jump. Where I'm like, that looked like a video game.
Because they have to make it look like he can jump higher than humanity and land... Yeah, and he's supposed to be, like, 2 tons when he lands, so...
Yeah, so it is... It does have a very, like, video game-esque feel for a lot of the graphics, which, for the most part, actually, like... I don't mind. I'm kind of into. It is just one of those things where some moments are a little jarring. Like, I'm like, oh, that didn't quite hit the mark. So
I think if they clean up the plotting, there is something here. I think Pablo Schreiber is good as Master Chief. I like him so far.
Yeah.
He's a little bit pretty when he takes his helmet off.
Really?
He's just a handsome dude. And he takes his helmet off. By the way, he takes his helmet off. It's a spoiler chat. You've seen it. He's just kind of a good-looking dude. I don't know. I think it's because everyone else has like these like fantastical haircuts, except for like Halsey. And then he takes
his bangs.
He takes his helmet off, and he just like kind of looks very modern, with the like scruff and the like buzz cut. I don't know. He
looks like a modern military man. You know, like get rid of the hair. You don't need it. And then I don't have time to clean shave every day, so it's a little scruffy. I
think after 21 years of not seeing Master Chief's face, it's a learning curve for my brain.
Oh, like you've never seen
I've been playing as Master Chief for 21 years of my life. The majority of my life.
I see.
I think that no matter what face had popped out, I would have had a weird reaction to it. You know what I mean? It's just, it's ingrained. Like, I don't know what Master Chief looks like. In my head, it's me. You know what I mean? And so, just without all the, like, childhood trauma. Yeah. I'm very curious to see where this goes.
Yeah. We're gonna keep watching because I'm interested to see where they go from here.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely not the strongest episode of TV I've seen.
No.
Not the strongest pilot.
No. Also, I want more aliens. I don't want just elites. I really hope it's not like just elites.
Well, we've got 2 aliens so far, so...
Yeah, but the prophets don't really fight.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's the pilot, and there's 3 different races, so...
Yeah, we'll see. I would have introduced the grunts first. With an elite. To make the elites feel special. Because the elites are supposed to be pretty formidable against this Spartan. You know what I mean? They're not supposed to be quite so, like, all these Spartans just, like, burn through them.
I see.
20 elites would be tough, right? And so the grunts are, it's kind of like you start with all Darth Mauls.
Okay.
It's like, okay, where do you go from here?
Okay, that's fair.
Because now they're going to have to do, I'm assuming they'll do brutes to have an actual challenge. Because the Spartans just went through those elites like they were nothing.
Yeah, they were fine.
Yeah.
Really not, like, barely an inconvenience.
I don't know, y'all. I don't think it's a good pilot. It doesn't make sense. Like, the plot, it just doesn't. At the end of the day, like, the plot just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of money on the table. There's potential that, like, the rest of the show is great. And it's just kind of a wonky pilot, and that would be fine. After waiting as long as we have, and after being hyped up as much as this show has, and after I like the trailers.
Yeah.
I think that this was kind of a swing and a miss. It whiffs a little bit. And I am curious to see where they go from here, but like I'm not super hopeful.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right, it's Thursday, let's watch Halo. But if next week is amazing, I'm willing to be like, it's a kind of weird pilot, but it gets good.
Yeah.
Look at Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec's whole first season is terrible, and I think it's one of the greatest shows ever made. I'm willing to give it the time to get there, but this one, it was a bit rough.
A little bit rough, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll be back with more Halo next week, and I hope it turns around on me, because I like this franchise a lot.
I know. I'm So sorry.
It's okay. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, we understand. Hit that dislike button. The algorithm god is hungry, and we must feed her. So definitely leave mean comments down below. I've been asking, what do people think of this goatee look? So give me a score out of 10 in the comments down below.
Yeah.
If you are interested in seeing other stuff from us on the internet, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe over at Claris Polaris. Subscribe over at Nerdyland, my personal channel. And follow us over on Twitch at Nerdy Nightly.
At Claris Polaris.
And as always, do something nerdy tonight.
Jesus Christ.